Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of magical transport in Harry Potter, I always think of the flying car. But there are so many other examples of magical transportation within the universe outside of this car. So let's look at those. So the first one we're going to look at is apparition and disapparition. So this is basically teleportation by magical means. So wizards can either instantly vanish, which is disapparate, or they can reappear, which is apparate somewhere else. Now there are actually limitations around this, so you have to pass a test. You have to get a license basically, which you can get from the age of 17. But there is a risk of splinching when you do apparate and disapparate. So this is basically the form of leaving part of you elsewhere. Now we see this happens to Ron when Hermione is disapparating, and I think she thinks of one place, and then because they're being followed, she quickly changes and Ron gets caught in the crossfire. So unfortunately, yeah, there is a risk of that happening, and it does happen to Ron. It can't be done in or out of places with protective enchantments like Hogwarts. However, we do know that Dumbledore is actually able to do that. So we know that he apparates and disapparates in and out of Hogwarts. So obviously he's managed to get around it, or can break the enchantments for a small period of time to be able to. But you can also bring someone along with you. And again, we know this because Dumbledore takes Harry along with him as well, and will apparate in and out of Hogwarts with Harry. So moving on to another familiar one, which is the Floo network. So this is basically a system using magical fireplaces, and what you do is you grab a handful of Floo powder, you throw it into the fireplace, you say where you want to go, and then you step into the green flames and you come out in a fireplace the other side. Again, there are some limitations here, so you have to be connected to the Floo network, and where you're going has to be as well, otherwise you're just going to get stuck in the wall. The mispronunciation can send you to the wrong place, and again we see this happen when Harry says diagonally instead of Diagon Alley, and he ends up in Knockturn Alley instead. Fireplaces also can be monitored and or restricted by the Ministry of Magic, so it is basically a government form of transport, or a government monitored form of transport. I think as well in the Ministry of Magic there's all those fireplaces in the atrium that you see, and a lot of people come to work, I think, via the fireplaces as well. So portkeys. So these are everyday objects which are enchanted to transport those who touch them to a preset destination. And these, for example, can be an old boot, like in the Goblet of Fire, how they get to the Quidditch World Cup. It can be a bucket, like we see in the Fantastic Beasts series. It can be, again, going back to the Goblet of Fire, the Triwizard Cup. That can be a portkey as well. Any object you think of, you can enchant to become a portkey. Now, this is often used by the Ministry to transport groups at a time, and you can use them to activate at a specific time, so a bit like a train, you have to be there by 10, and then it will take you off to your place, or when you touch it, it will take you as well. Our next one is broomsticks. So iconic broomsticks in the series that we know are Nimbus 2000 and the Firebolt, but I think they also have a Comet, which I think are the ones that Ron's family uses, or anyone who can't afford one of the more up-to-date ones, they tend to have Comets. And we find out about that in the books more than we do in the films. Now they're used for both transport and sport. So we have Quidditch use of the broomsticks, but we also have obviously just getting from A to B. And if you played Hogwarts Legacy, then again you'll know that you can use your broomsticks to fly around, but they can be dangerous in poor weather and also quite uncomfortable as well, so they may not be someone's first choice for a long distance travel. But moving on to things you can do in Hogwarts Legacy, and that is flying creatures. So one of the ones that you can fly in Hogwarts Legacy is a hippogriff. So these are proud, powerful creatures. They can fly long distances. So we know, like I say, Buckbeak is in Azkaban. And again, we hear about him more in the books, like afterwards as well. But again, you can actually get one in Hogwarts Legacy, and you can fly your hippogriff. We also have Thestrals. So Thestrals are winged skeletal horses that are only visible to those who have seen death, and you can fly those. Another creature which is more rare to find and fly, and very difficult to control, are dragons, but in very specific circumstances, very special situations, you can absolutely fly a dragon. And again, we see Harry, Ron and Hermione doing that when they're escaping Gringotts. Moving on, we have the Night Bus. So this is a magical triple-decker bus for stranded witches and wizards. So the features on how... So let's talk about how you flag this thing down. So basically, it will pick up passengers who stick out their wand arm, and then you pay your fine and you get to get on. There's beds, you can have hot chocolate. A lot more detail again in the books than there is in the film, but I think from the description in the book they do get it pretty good actually in the film. I do like the depiction of it. It can squeeze through impossible spaces, and it can leap ahead quickly, so it can go between between cars, between narrow spaces to get you to where you need to go, and muggles can't see it, so there's no risk of anyone being exposed because of this. It also, whilst it's convenient, it can maybe be a bit uncomfortable because it is quite jolty. It does go very fast, it does weave in and out quite a lot, but there are beds, and there are witches and wizards who actually do sleep on it. Maybe they're just accustomed to how it works, maybe they use it all the time. The next one is that is maybe less well known, which is Vanishing Cabinets, or not less well known but less seen, which is the Vanishing Cabinet. So this is paired magical cabinets which allows someone to travel between the two, and we do see Draco practicing with these, trying to transfer birds, apples, stuff like that. I'm assuming the apple was to make sure that it would go to the other one, and the bird will see if you can get someone through who's alive. That's how I've always thought of it. Let me know if you think any differently. And we know that is what Draco uses to bring the Death Eaters into Hogwarts. He spends a lot of that film, in particular, because we see him obviously in the film doing it, figuring out how these work, finding it in the Room of Requirement, going back, trying it, testing it, so on and so forth. And the last one is not so much transportation in space, but transportation in time, and that is the Time Turner. Now, we only see this once, well, in one book, which is The Prisoner of Azkaban, which is a shame. It would have probably been really, really helpful for other situations later on, but we see it once, like I said, in one film, one book. And this is one that Hermione uses, given to her by McGonagall, so she can go to so many different classes all at once. And it's basically used for time travel by rotating a magical hourglass. We know that it can take someone else with her because she takes Harry back with her, and we obviously know there are some rules around it, so you can't be spotted by yourself because bad things happen to people who mess with time. And I'm assuming that there's only so far back you can go as well. You couldn't go back, days or years, I wouldn't have thought. But that's it, guys. This is all of the magical transportation that I could think of within the Harry Potter universe or within the Wizarding World. Let me know if you can think of any more. If they're, time or space travel, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up this year, including a trip to the Harry Potter Studios to the Triwizard Tournament event. I'm very excited. Don't want you to miss out on any of that. And until next time, you take care.